Today, for our TBR SaaS edition, I'm excited to interview Kosta Panagoulias. Our topic today is bootstrapping a SaaS company, lessons learned. Bootstrapping a SaaS company, lessons learned. Kosta, welcome to our podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. And just wanted to, start by getting our audience to know you. Just tell your story. Who are you? When did you become an entrepreneur? What made you become an entrepreneur? Let's start at the beginning.
All right. I don't know. I'm not going to start too far back. I don't want to bore people, but my name is Kosta Panagoulias. The simple of who I am is I'm an entrepreneur. Most notably, I founded a SaaS company called Web for Realty 12 years ago with my partner, bootstrapped that up from my parents' basement, two non-technical entrepreneurs. We managed to grow our company to 20 plus team members around the world, fully remote, profitable. And last year we got acquired in a successful acquisition. And today I just launched my second SaaS company called jobtable.com.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. So you are like overnight success, I guess 12 plus years in the making. So you know a thing or two about the mistakes, the things to do, things not to do. So let's start hopefully to sharing with our listeners, who you are, what you did. So just to set some context, I was doing a bit of research. So Web for Realty is a company that's 12 plus years old. They provide a subscription service, $30 a month, all the way to like $45, $49 a month. So really affordable. So it's a volume play, right? So it's all about getting, thousands of, real estate professionals to use and subscribe to your service. So maybe I want to focus on like keys to success, right? You said it's profitable. That's the number one thing, right? A lot of people raise a lot of money, burn a lot of money. Eventually, they never figure out how to make it work. So can you maybe talk about the phases of your business? Like how long did it take you to become profitable? And then maybe let's start there.
Yeah. We were profitable very early on. I mean, we literally had no money to invest in anything. So our only source of funding came from our customers. So we needed revenue, we needed sales immediately. That was the only way we can continue funding operations. So for the first several years, our main focus was sales. That's all we did. Like I said, that was the only way we were able to fund the business, and just through, time, dedication, a lot of grit, we were able to, like you said, it's a volume game. So one by one, chip away at the user base to eventually get to the point where, hey, now we're covering our costs. Hey, now we can, profitable, we can start paying ourselves a little bit, and eventually just grew and sustained, thankfully.
Yeah. So how many years didn't you get paid? I mean, you're bootstrapping it.
Yeah, I remember the first paycheck we cut ourselves was probably, around like the 6-month mark. It was for $250 a month.
Okay. Right. So you started getting paid, but not enough, of course.
Yeah, no. Just when I say getting paid, it's just like something to, say, hey, we're actually doing something. But yeah, it was only
how long did it take you to get to, let's say, 5,000 a month each? Just I'm not saying that.
I can, man. I'm not the best with timelines, but probably a few years.
Got it. So let's backtrack. So you didn't have any money. You guys are not technical, so you're not programmers. So but I'm going to start with marketing and sales. So how did you start driving revenues? Because you don't have any money to do expensive marketing or hire expensive teams, because it's all bootstrapped. You didn't have investors. It was all you guys, you and your co-founder.
Yeah. So the only option we had was to do outbound sales, cold calling. Like I single-handedly closed the first 500 paying clients through cold calling and email marketing. Something that cost no money, just a lot of time and effort.
Right. I know the listeners are not perhaps in your vertical or in your business, but what was it like? What were the secrets? Is it like a numbers game? You call 20 people and one person signs up, or you really figured out the right people and the right message? Like, what are some of the lessons we can share?
Sales is such an important skill set that just requires a lot of time and dedication and constant tweaking and learning and adjusting. But yeah, I think a lot of people give up too fast in their business because they give up on sales. you try a few different things, it might not work out the way you expect, and you kind of give up. So yeah, just sales is a skill set, just like any skill set. The more you do it, the more repetitions you put in, you get better at it. I read a ton of books on sales to help me along the way. And just over time, I naturally got good at it. Tweak the positioning, the messaging, like you said. There's so much involved to sales. I think the best salespeople are the ones who really understand human behavior and why people react or don't react to things. And it's often the little things that matter, right? When I say little things, like we're talking, spacing in your emails, like commas versus periods, tone in your voice, like all these things compounded make a impact, right? So
That's amazing. So let's kind of fast forward. You have an amazing sales process, marketing process before you sold. That's why you got acquired. So what did it look like? What does it look like now? Like in the sense, I just want to understand, what does amazing look like for a SaaS company? Like if you were to just start at the top, maybe just give us a 10,000-foot view, and then maybe we'll get into some of the
amazing
nuances.
for it? I don't know. I think that's such a very subjective question that you can ask 10 different SaaS folks and you'll get 10 different answers. To me, it's simple, right? Like to me, what's successful is being profitable, making money, of course, but more importantly than that is being able to provide true value to people, right? That's the main thing, because without that, it's very hard to
So
grow
like, I
a
mean,
business.
I guess I'm getting into the mechanics of it. Like, did you guys have webinars? Do you have a large email list? Did you work with partners? Like, what does your machine
So
looks like?
just to take that back, like starting from the beginning, first of all, real estate agents, again, this was our first internet business. We had no idea what we were doing. Luckily, we were in a business where scraping lead information was very easy, right? Real estate agents, they provide their phone numbers and emails all over the place. So I would literally go on websites, get phone numbers, pick up the phone, start calling people. I just make my own list. Over time, learning a bit about marketing, you start getting introduced to different tools to make that process more efficient, like marketing automation tools and things like that. So over time, what started off as a very raw cold calling, like literally Excel sheet, list of people, phone numbers, pick up the phone. We slowly refined that as we learned and gained more knowledge, and kind of just made that process more efficient and better over time. But in 12 years, we never paid for marketing. Like our marketing approach and sales approach was always outbound. That was kind of in our DNA.
Right, outbound. So like these people didn't know, like, and trust you when they first heard from you. So
yeah,
they're like,
over time, naturally, like your brand starts to
get out there.
Get more familiar. So you start getting more inbounds, more referrals. But that took a bit of time to reach that level.
Right. So I know we all have unique selling propositions. Is that something important for a SaaS founder to be able to clearly articulate, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is why we are the best?
Yeah, for sure. I think just messaging is so important. And I think that really helps when you understand who your customer is. And I think the more granular you can get, the more precise your communication and messaging becomes. So yeah, I think just being able to
let's kind of role play, right? So let's
sure.
say I'm buying your business. Of course, you sold it, but let's say I'm buying your business and you're trying to explain to me, this is my customer and this is our message. And I just want our listeners to kind of get your thinking on it. Like, how do you define it?
Yeah. So I learned this in a SaaS expo several years ago, and it's really powerful. And a lot of people can't do this, right? Just being able to explain in one sentence who you help and how you help them. Right. So for example, like with Web for Realty's case, like we help real estate agents manage their business better. Right. So like when you say that, you can say that to anyone, like a taxi driver, someone random. It's like, we help real estate agents manage their business better. That's something anyone is gonna be like, oh, okay, how do you do that? Right. As opposed to most people, when you ask that question, they get too technical. It's like, oh, we do this, we provide a CRM, blah, blah, blah. And like you lose people. So being able to simplify who you help and how you help them in one clear, concise sentence that everyone can understand, I think is a very powerful starting point to improve your messaging and communication on your website when you speak to people. So
that's excellent. Like, we help real estate agents manage your business better. You talked about who is your customer. I'm assuming it's not every real estate agent or every real estate firm. Were you able to get nuanced in that as well, like in terms
oh
of
yeah,
who your customer is?
for sure. More so in the marketing part of it, right? So like when I'm cold calling people or reaching out to people, being able to create different micro segments of real estate agents, right? Because that's the biggest mistake I see people make when they do outbound. They don't get too granular enough on who they're targeting, right? So, for example, customers were real estate agents. Most people are going to make the mistake and say, okay, that's already a niche, real estate agents. But the fact is, there's so many different types of real estate agents, from residential, commercial, part of a team, part-time, full-time, different regions. So there's so many different types of real estate agents. So what we would do early on is create micro segments. So for example, one segment might be, okay, I'm going to target real estate agents that are from Toronto, because that's where I'm from, who work for Remax, let's just say, is a big brokerage, and who do not have a website. So now I have these 3 key attributes. Now with these attributes, my messaging can sound and feel very warm. So for example, hey Naren, Kosta here from Web for Realty. We've been helping a lot of your colleagues from Remax with their website. I noticed you don't have one. Is there any particular reason why? Right. So that's a cold pitch, but sounds pretty warm. Sounds like I picked up the phone just to call you, and I'm going to get a response back most likely, or engage that person.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's those nuances that you said, right? And it just gets so specific. Like you said, the extra comma.
Which would be impossible to craft a message like that if you're just targeting all real estate agents.
100%. And at the end of the day, people want a solution that for them, right? So you already told them, people like them who are also Remax agents are using you guys. Hey, that means if they are doing it, it must be good. So subconsciously, I'm thinking, what is it that they do that I don't do? And then you are literally getting to the point. I notice you don't have a website. So
and like really, I'm literally applying the same models to my new SaaS company today, right? Just
brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's now switch gears. We talked a lot about marketing and sales and so forth. So I assume you use marketing automation. You have outbound email, inbound. Like, you do lots of stuff. I'm sure you're very sophisticated by now after 12 years. Let's switch gears. Like, when did you hire your first person? And let's talk about the people side of this. And did you make mistakes? Like, what were the mistakes you made as a first-time founder?
Yeah, that's a very important topic, I think, is hiring, especially when you are bootstrapped, right? Because hiring is a very time-consuming and resourceful, draining process, right? If you're doing it properly. Just the thought of creating a job post, getting applicants, interviewing people, vetting people, like that requires a lot of time and effort, which is very important, but time consuming, right? Especially as a founder when you're wearing multiple hats. So with that being said, my experience comes from hiring remotely. So, you have to hire a little bit differently as opposed to hiring someone, you're seeing every day in an office. But yeah, so to answer back to your question of when did we make our first hire, I want to say around the 12-month mark, I'd say we hired our first salesperson to help with sales. But yeah, that's along with sales, I do believe hiring is a skill set that gets better with time and experience as well. So
when you think about hiring, you think about what you're looking for, you're thinking about the interview process, you're thinking about selling them on the job and why they should do this job. You're thinking about compensation plan. You're thinking about training and tools that they need to succeed. You're thinking about, how do you check in with them? How do you continue to support them? How do you get rid of the bad hires? Like, all kinds of nuances, right? Anything that just jumps out at you and like.
Yeah. So I have like a 8-step hiring process that I just go through. Which again, just over time and experience, you kind of craft your hiring process. So for me, I hire, the saying, like, measure twice, cut once. When it comes to hiring, like, I measure 4 times, cut once, so for example, especially when you're hiring remotely, right? You get a lot of applicants when you hire remotely just because it's remote. And I feel like people, you're attracting a wider net. You can hire from anywhere in the world. So like you naturally will get a lot of applicants. Like I remember one sales role, we must have got like 1,200 applicants in the few weeks. Like it was crazy. So first thing I do is send every applicant an email saying, hey, send me a quick 2-minute video, why you hired, why you applied, and why you should get the whatever, right? A 2-minute video. So I do that because it just weeds out a lot of people. Only people that are somewhat serious will take the time to record that video, and then you can see how they interact, how they communicate. So it weeds out a lot of people that way. Next step would be to schedule a call, quick 15-minute call with whoever passes that phase. That will also weed out people because a lot of people just won't schedule that call. But my purpose of this call is very informal, like try to understand who the person is, like their life, where they're from, what their situation is, and just trying to see if there's a personal connection there. That further weeds out people. Then I schedule a second call with people who pass that test, but this time it's a bit more formal, more professional, like on the technical side of things for whatever the role is. That further weeds out people. And then I like to do another call, but this time with a department manager who's going to be closely working with the person. They usually quarterback this interview, ask their own questions. I usually just stay in the back, listen. Then after that, by that point, you're usually down to like a handful of people. And then at that point, we get them to do an exercise, something related to the role. And by that point, it's pretty clear who made it through. So that's the process. Like that's what I do for every single hire. Luckily doing that process, my last several hires were really good. Because the worst thing you could do as a bootstrap founder is go through this hiring process, making the wrong hire where like either they're not a good fit or you're not a good fit for them. They leave after a few weeks and you have to start all over again. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That is amazing. I think this tips you gave about hiring is like gold. Now let's talk flip our focus from the hiring phase to what happens after the hiring. Do you find there are key pieces that are also critical in that phase to make sure the person is a success and of course you're happy with the hire?
For sure. Like that's hiring's half the battle, right? Then the next step is like onboarding, right? Because you got to think, why did someone choose you? Because at the end of the day, as much as you're pitching the applicant is pitching as much as the applicant's pitching you as the company owner or the founder are pitching the applicant, probably more so, right? So for someone to accept a role and decide, you know what, I'm going to dedicate now for this company that I've never heard of across the world. The first day they start, like it's got to feel real, right? It's got to feel real. You got to have a very structured onboarding process and training schedule, because that could, if you're unorganized on the onboarding side, that could potentially create red flags for that person you just hired. Like, what did I get myself into? They're so disorganized and stuff. So the onboarding part of it all, and just having a structure and like clear process guidelines and a training structure is very, very important and often overlooked, I find.
No, makes total sense. So it's really having that proper onboarding. And then like, let's say you have a team. How often do you check in with them? How do you, especially a remote team, like how do you manage a team all the way from managers to the people at the bottom? Is it process driven? Is it very much like you use the project management tool to delegate and manage things? Just get into open up the covers and share some of your secrets, if I may.
I don't know. I think, again, this is very subjective too. I don't think there's a right or wrong for this. For me, I'm the type of person where like, I kind of hate meetings, right? So like there's no way I'll do like a daily stand up as some people do. Like to me, that's way too much. Right now with JobTable, because we're early on, I speak to developers every single day, of course, move the needle on that side. And then team calls, we probably do once a month at this point. But again, that might change, right? We're starting out and getting going. But yeah, in general, I think this depends on who you are as a person and what your style and management style is. Also in combination of, your team, like you're putting together the team, and ideally you want like-minded people who kind of view things the same way, and there's a cohesiveness there. So yeah, it depends on your style. That's my style personally.
100%. Let's switch gears to co-founders. I know some people make it work, many don't. What's your lessons? Like, do you think it's a good idea to have a co-founder if you're a first-time entrepreneur? Or it depends, and if it depends, then what are the things you should be looking at?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, I think co-founders could be incredible, right? Especially if you complement each other's skill set. It's nice to have a yin yang, and what you can do as a founder. Your other founder has other skill sets, and vice versa. So I think it's very important to complement each other. Beyond that, I think it's just very important to be able to communicate with your founder, be open, transparent, and just have a very, very good relationship is obviously very important, because a partnership, I see it as the equivalent of like a marriage in a lot of ways, right? So a lot of the same values and attributes in a marriage should also apply to a business partnership as well. Like, that's how I see it.
Makes sense. What are some of the keys to make a partnership work? I mean, a co-founder relationship work. What are like the do's and the don'ts? Never so what's your experience based on 12 years?
I mean, definitely there's it'd be nice to share similar, not values, but like ambitions, right? Like, if you got to be aligned on, what you want to do and where you want to drive the company. It helps if, personalities align. But I think do's is definitely just like over communicate, be fully transparent all the time. And be able to put egos aside, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're human beings. Every human being has different personalities and the way they, react to certain things. So I just think it's very important because you're going to naturally bump heads, of course, as with even a marriage, but being able to get past that and, do for the greater good of, in this case, the company. But yeah, it just requires good communication, I'd say, is the best one.
Right. You are an entrepreneur, you're doing a second business. So of course you are, a serial entrepreneur. Would you do anything else? And if not, why do you like being an entrepreneur?
It's just exciting to me. The most important reason of being an entrepreneur is being able to have full control over my time, right? And no one can dictate what I do with my days, how I spend my days. I have a young family, and just being able to be around the family and not have to answer to anyone if we want to travel, and just little things like that. So just having the freedom and flexibility to manage my time how I want is the most important reason by far to being an entrepreneur.
Right. And you didn't raise any money, right? Is that a good thing,
No.
bad thing? How do you feel about this? And
I don't know. I'm not like anti raising money or, pro bootstrapped. I think just bootstrapping is in my DNA. Like, that's how I started. Even my second company, like, we're using the same methodologies, just kind of in my blood is to bootstrap. I've never even attempted to raise money or have those conversations. So that's just never a path I went down. With that being said, I think, there's obviously a lot of value to being able to raise funds depending on, what you want to do with your company. So I think it all depends on the situation.
a last question as we come to a close. Bootstrapping comes with its pluses and minuses. Is there anything that you think bootstrapping really helped you with? Like, in other words, like, for example, I tried to raise money, and the only people at that time, this is going back to 2008, who would give me money were like banks, and they're like, I'll give you 25,000, but we still need a mortgage on your house, so it's like pointless, right? So literally nobody wanted to give me money. But looking back, that could have been the best thing that happened to me, because it forced me to be extremely frugal, extremely careful. Like, I didn't have money to throw around, so like you have no way to mess up. I mean, you just have to be super careful and thoughtful. Is that like a blessing in your mind? Like,
Totally agree in so many ways, kind of like how you described it. One, I think it creates this natural grittiness inside of you, that feeling like, your back's against the wall. And I think when you have that feeling of like your back's against the wall, that pressure, it creates a mindset, which I like to say, like, no plan Bs. So if I've decided, like, I'm going to start this business, I'm going to do this, there's no plan Bs. That means there's no failure. We're going to succeed. We're going to figure it out. And because once you instill a plan B is a plan for failure. That's literally what it is. So once you instill that tiny grain of doubt, you're thinking about failing. I believe your chances of failing have now exponentially increased because you put it in your head. So so it aids with that mindset and that mentality, which I think is the most important thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And did you have mentors by any chance? Like, I know one of the benefits some may argue of investors is they could become your mentors and advisors. But in your case, did you build that, or did you create that in some other way?
Honestly, not really. Over the years, like I met with, like, you're one of them. Like we interacted through an event.
Yes.
I know we kept in touch a few times, and not really. But with that being said, I'm now a mentor to a lot of other entrepreneurs through a platform called growthmentor.com. I do a lot of, I dedicate every week an hour to mentor other entrepreneurs and startup founders going through whatever it is they're going through. So I get a lot of joy in doing that, for sure, and kind of giving back and also learning from other people as well.
That's true, right? Most entrepreneurs are lifelong learners. They don't stop. They just keep at it, keep at it, and they just keep going. So
for sure.
Thank you so much. Of course, you and I should catch up again for coffee. I remember the last time we went for a walk. So
we should.
really, thank you so much, Kosta. Now you're on the other side, helping others, doing your second company. So that's amazing. See, that's the thing. Like, if you give anything enough time and you stick with something, really, it's hard to go wrong. You just have to stick with it and like you said, not take no for an answer.
Exactly. Yeah, really nice connecting again. Thanks for having me, and we should definitely do it again.
Appreciate it.
All right.
I want to take a minute to thank Kosta for this amazing podcast. We talked about bootstrapping a SaaS company, lessons learned. So thank you for that, Kosta. I also want to take a minute to thank our listeners. We can't do what we do without you. Until we meet again with another amazing TBR episode, your host, Naren Arul Raja.